So I'm here today at Portsmouth Comic Con. I have actually never been to a Comic Con before, so this is going to be my very first experience. I know loads of people that go and I have friends that cosplay, so I'm so excited to finally go to my very first Comic Con. I have never been, as I say, so I have been looking this up. It looks jam-packed full of things to do. It's a whole weekend, so today is Saturday. The theme today is villains, so I've got my Ursula t-shirt, and I'm going to go and head in now and get my very first Comic Con experience. I want to say a massive thank you to Portsmouth Comic Con and Kate at Bright Sparks for inviting me down. So let's go in and see what this is like. As soon as you arrive, you're greeted with Jurassic Park. It is so cute to see some tiny little dinosaurs moving about. You've also got some cars here. I am loving seeing everyone in their cosplay. They look incredible. As well as having Jurassic Park themed things, they have actual fossils, which is incredible to see. You can also paint a dinosaur egg, loads of cool merchandise. So it's a great entrance, a great welcome into Portsmouth Comic Con. And I'm thinking of going to the Doctor Who experience now. We are celebrating 60 years of Doctor Who this weekend, and they have a whole thing set up, so let's go in. We're getting to walk through the TARDIS. This is so cool. It is so cool getting to see the Doctor Who costumes throughout the years. I personally prefer the kind of like zanier ones, and of course this weekend we have two Doctors here, so getting to see their costumes in person is amazing. I genuinely thought I saw one of these move and it terrified me, and I've now developed some sort of irrational fear of mummies and dummies, but there's a lot of them around, so I'm going to have to overcome it very quickly. The Doctor Who experience was so much fun. It was fab to see so many costumes and props. I also got to go inside a TARDIS, which was awesome. It was also signed by lots of former Doctors and their companions, so it was awesome. When I stepped into the TARDIS, the music started and I was like, I'm having the full Doctor Who experience. This is amazing. So now I'm going to carry on having a little look around and see what else is on. So I'm going to start with the outside, and we have the Comic Village. So let's go in and see all of the artists and amazing things on display here. We all know I love some merch, so it was great to go in there. There were so many cool things, lots of amazing artwork. You come outside and you have the Batmobile. I love just stumbling across these things. It's so cool to see them in real life. So I'm going to head inside now, and that is where the main event is happening. Every floor of the Guildhall has been taken over, so let's go and see what's inside. Oh yes. You look incredible! So I have come into the main part of the Guildhall, and this is called Comic City 1, and it is filled to the brim full of incredible artwork, merchandise, and as we all know, I do like to shop, so I cannot wait to dive in and have a look at everything.
sense Bluetooth seems sometimes.
I've only walked around here once and I've seen about 50 things I want to buy, which is a problem because I kind of forgot the sort of person I am and that I want to buy everything. Looking around here all weekend so I can keep eyeing things up, but it's so fabulous to see so many cool, unique things. If you have a fandom of anything, you will find it here, and that's actually what I find the most interesting and most exciting, the fact that so many fandoms cross at a Comic Con and you get to see everyone dressed up. Whatever you are looking for, you will be able to find, and I think that's the best thing about it. I have popped outside, and on the main stage at the moment there are some young Padawans learning some Jedi tricks. Throughout the day there are lots of different performances going on the main stage. The weather is perfect, so it could not be better, so I'm going to have a little look and maybe learn some Jedi tricks myself. As well as workshops, there's also a number of panels happening this weekend. So I've come inside because Nicola Bryant, who was Perry in Doctor Who, was one of the Doctor's companions, is doing a talk now. So I'm going to have a little listen, and it should be super interesting to hear about her time as a companion for Doctor Who for two different Doctors who are both also here this weekend.
Doctor Who kind of came along quite early in your career, but Doctor Who was already pretty well established. Were you already a fan of the show before you auditioned?
I was. I am. Can't wait for the new season. I'm very excited about it all.
And how did you feel when you landed the role of Perry, being a fan?
I felt like I had managed to project myself to the moon without any aid of a rocket. I was that excited.
That's amazing. I mean, how did your life change?
I suppose, and the first thing was to come out of drama school where there's always that, will I ever get a job thought, which actually I didn't really have. All my friends were having, and I was like, oh, it's going to be fine. So maybe that positive thinking attracted a very nice job to me. I was able to, during my dinner break, as we would call it, sneak out of the Doctor Who studio, and instead of going to have dinner at the canteen, I went and had a bop in the Top of the Pops audience. And I was allowed to because I was Perry. So
brilliant.
That was fun. That was great fun. Yeah.
I'm sure. How do you feel about the representation of women in the sci-fi genre and how that has changed throughout the decades?
Are we here till midnight? Wow. Well, in one way, I thought Perry had a very strong start in that she wasn't going to be frightened of the Master. She kind of held her own. On the other hand, you know, I was wearing shorts, you know, and a leotard. So, but we've got a new companion who's coming in, and she's wearing shorts. It's just she gets to wear them with a pair of tights and a very sensible pair of boots. So I mean, there's always going to be that element of we want people to look attractive, and what is attractive is a very debatable thing. And I think my idea of attractive and John Nathan Turner's idea of attractive were slightly on different, not say pages, but different books.
So the talk with Nicola Bryant was great. It was fab to hear her memories and experiences, and also she has such enthusiasm for Comic Cons and getting to meet all of the fans and interact with them, and she was saying how much that's like such a big part of what she loves to do now, and I think it's just so nice to hear that, isn't it? It's great when you can come and meet the people that you love and they're also loving it too. So she was so nice. I'm actually going to head outside now, well I am outside now, to go and get some food. It's now lunchtime. There is a fully vegan food cart, so I'm going to go and try that out, and yeah, let's get some food. There is actually a whole row of different food trucks, so lots and lots of food available, but as I am vegan, let's go check out the vegan food booth. So the buffalo loaded fries were absolutely incredible. I'm now just taking a wander around and looking at everyone's cosplay. It is literally incredible. Like the level of detail, the work, the amount of effort that goes in is incredible. And I probably am like, I need to get into this. I need to start cosplaying because it's so inspiring seeing everyone here. So I have popped back inside and just been to check out the cinema rooms. They have screenings of different films whilst you're here. But I'm actually going to head upstairs now to one of the panels, which is all about horror. Now, I love horror films. I'm very excited for this. So let's go and check out one of the panels at Portsmouth Comic Con.
Peter Cushing's Frankenstein does what he does because he wants to push the frontiers of science. And the whole of that cycle of movies for Hammer is an ongoing discussion of what is reasonable to do for the greater good. And there's almost not a monster in one of them, because the idea of whether or not Peter Cushing makes a monster is entirely secondary to his own monstrousness. Society is changing vastly across the Hammer movies from 57 to 76. And for instance, the change from religion being a definitively positive force in the first Dracula to, say, Twins of Evil in 72, where religion is a pushing down against the liberation of vampirism. And that's an enormous societal change in a very short space of time.
So Villainy then is also contingent on what's happening in society and culture of the period.
Horror as analogue.
Yes. There's that kind of nice refraction. If not a reflection, then a refraction of what's happening. Monsters are the clearest kind of threat in horror texts. Okay, they're the clearest visual signifier of the horrific and the threat, but they can also become symbolic as well. And he argues that there's particular broad tendencies, if you like, kind of categories. And he says the first one is the supernatural versus the secular. So monsters that come from the supernatural realm, so within that we could have ghosts or demons, potentially possession narratives as well, potentially witchcraft, although witchcraft can also be taken out of the supernatural and into the secular. And the secular category, science gone wrong, or things that just happen, you know, like human monsters, serial killers. Now he says the next kind of thing that you can think about is that monsters can be external or internal. They can be an external threat to our bodies, or they can erupt from within. And finally, monsters are autonomous or dependent. They are driven by their own desires, their own drives, they are autonomous, they're doing their own thing, or they are actually dependent on what the humans are doing to them. So he sets up these really interesting categories, and I think today that's kind of what we'd like to explore for our own particular little favourite types of monsters, if you like. And basically, we're looking at figures that are simultaneously attractive and repulsive.
Our reaction to the monster is central, and I think when we come to a space like this, like Comic Con, and we see toys and figures and people dressed up as monsters, we can then come to understand that there is something not only scary, but an inherent connection we feel with these characters for various reasons.
Horror, or what we think of as horror now, often we can really see going back to ancient myths. So versions of a figure we might understand as the vampire, something that's a shapeshifter, something that drinks blood or kind of somehow leeches the life out of the living, is something that we might recognise, you know, all around the world, back through the reaches of time, often associated with entirely real horrors like disease and wasting away, those sorts of concerns. Often horror might be tied to social anxiety, and some of the ideas we had mentioned earlier in relation to Hammer and, you know, changes over time, we can see that. So mad science, which has already come up, special interest of mine, is absolutely linked to those ideas about overstepping the mark, you know, taking things too far, whether that's within a religious context or perhaps in a more contemporary environment, anxieties about, you know, genetic engineering, vivisection, all those things that people still feel are concerning. There's that classic theory about horror that, you know, what it does so well is kind of, in a fairly conservative way, help us contain the threat and stop it, but perhaps increasingly we don't feel that that is even a viable thing, that people want to think about what's behind it.
So maybe then we can extend our definition even more, and I'm not going to start a discussion for today, maybe for next year if you'd like to come back for the return. Monstrous locations, monstrous spaces.
Like in the China, where the hotel is basically
hotels, houses, graveyards. I'm up for it if you are.
So the talk about horror was so interesting. It was great to have the interaction as well with people that had gone to the panel. I love that there are workshops, panels, talks, there's so much going on, and I've fitted in so much today, but I think I might head home because tomorrow I still have so much more to see and do. There is a Star Wars experience that I've not done. Tomorrow there's a big Doctor Who panel. There's also going to be a Disney at 100 panel. So many more people in cosplay to see. So I've enjoyed the first day so much. I feel like I've done a lot in this first day, and the fact that there's still so much to explore tomorrow, I cannot wait. So in the next clip you will see me on Sunday. So I'm now back. It is now day 2 of Portsmouth Comic Con. The theme today is multiverse, so I cannot wait to see all of the cosplay today. There's quite a few things that I could still do. There's going to be some panels that I want to see. I haven't done the Star Wars experience. There is a cosplay parade. So there's still lots and lots to be seeing today. So let's head in. So as you can see, the queue to get in is quite long. It's a super popular event, but it's lovely to see it so lively. So I have grabbed a drink, found a seat, and the first thing we're going to do today is watch the Doctor Who panel with Colin Baker, Peter Davison and Nicola Bryant. Nicola Bryant was brilliant yesterday, so I'm very excited to see what they're going to talk about today.
First on, can we get Nicola Bryant on stage? Perry Brown! Take a seat, Nicola. Thank you very much. Then we have, of course, we've got to go in order, I suppose, the fifth Doctor, Peter Davison! And then, number 6, Colin Baker! Thank you very much for coming to Portsmouth Comic Con, and I know this is not the first time you're down in Portsmouth or in the Hampshire area. It probably has quite a lot of sort of personal connections for you. What's it like being in Portsmouth today, and does it bring back any memories for being in Doctor Who and filming down here? Colin, I'll take that over to you.
Well, my wife was born in Portsmouth, so obviously all the attractive women in England are based in Portsmouth. And all her family, she comes from seafaring folk. Her mother was a wren. So, yes. Any wrens here today?
Yeah, there's one just there.
A bloke with a beard, yes.
I think we filmed part of the Awakening down this way, where I think they had a tank. The Navy had a sort of a tank of water that we filmed. I had to fall in the water at some point, and I think the idea is obviously to practice, diving. And they were meant to fill it with water 3 days before, so the temperature would come up to up to sort of normal water temperature, but they'd forgotten to fill it. So they filled it the night before, and then I jumped in, and my voice raised about 3 octaves. I had no idea that would happen. Don't like that. It was very, very cold.
We had a wonderful time filming Revelation of the Daleks with the most extraordinary weather, wasn't it, in the whole of our season, with the snow.
Yeah, snow.
Snow,
yeah.
Yes.
Actually, I don't remember it being sunny. No, it wasn't.
It wasn't sunny. No, it wasn't
snowy.
like this. It
Yes, you're quite right.
Like this.
It was 40 years ago.
I know.
But you are aware, aren't you, that this is with you for the rest of your life? And I went, yeah, I suppose so. I don't think I quite realised that at my advanced age, I would A, be in it again, and B, still talking about it to an awful lot of people who seem to be interested still in something I did 40 years ago. You did 43 years ago.
I did.
Yeah.
My term has been longer than yours. My sentence has been longer than yours.
Yeah.
I'm still here. And yet, still here. We're still here, Colin. I feel like a bit like a Roman amphitheatre in this.
It is, isn't it?
Friends, Romans, countrymen.
Yeah. It's the wrong way round. They should be down here.
Yeah, we should be up
there between the portico. It's a glorious building, isn't it? really is.
Apart from Spider-Man climbing up the side of it.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's brilliant.
I've been Perry for over half my life. So, yeah, I didn't expect that. Who knew we'd be doing Big Finish and continuing our characters forever? So I feel she's never gone, she's never left. We have older Perry and younger Perry in Big Finish, thank goodness. And no, I did not expect that exactly 40 years on for me, that I would be sitting anywhere and talking about Perry, let alone to such a fabulous group of people who love the show and bring all their love and enthusiasm with them on this glorious day. I mean, no, if someone had said that, I would have thought they were certifiable.
I always feel slightly inadequate when people come up and say, you helped me through a very important or difficult time in my life. Because we were, after all, just making a program to entertain people. And it's wonderful if that helps, and how I think there is especially for fans of Doctor Who, they seem to make a connection with the Doctor, and if that helps them, that is fantastic. But I must be honest, I never quite know what to say when people come up and say, you really helped me. And I go, oh, pleasure. I just feel like, it's great that we're able to do that, but we do it sort of inadvertently just by trying to make an entertaining program. But it's great.
And I think that's what makes it work.
No, it is. You're right. You're right. But we're not starting off with that idea that we're going, I'm doing this to save.
Well, that would be awful.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
But just in my response, I always feel it's a bit lame when people say that. But it's great to be a part of helping people.
It's a huge responsibility, and it's a blessing in so many ways, because I feel so blessed to have a job, which was a job, that you just do the best you can in your job, and then you have people coming back and saying, this changed my life. There is something magical about Doctor Who, and something special, and there isn't any other show we've done where you get that response. So here's to the incredible magic of Doctor Who. May it live forever.
But there is another side to that coin. I did a series in the 70s called The Brothers, in which I played a not very nice character. I went into a wine shop in Hampstead one weekend, and a man said, "Are you Paul Merony?" which was the character I played. And I took a deep breath and yes. And he produced a Nebuchadnezzar of champagne, which is 8 bottles, I think, and dumped it on the top. And he said, I watched you on television treating people like absolute rubbish, and I discovered that if I treat my staff that way, they work harder and I can pay them less. So I owe you this. Now that's not the kind of compliment you actually want. We've all been doing Big Finish, the audio adventures of our respective doctors and characters. So the character has been with me off and on for those 40 years. So the fact that there were some cameras there as well was only a minor step. And quite who we were playing, I've no idea. We had different costumes. We were kind of the guardians of the gate, a bit like in Thor. It was just fun, and it was nice to do something together that celebrated the program, because the only chance we'd had before was Peter's genius idea of the 5-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, whatever it ended up being, Doctors, which is the only thing I've done remotely connected with Doctor Who that I've watched more than I have to.
The worst thing about regeneration, which actually I think I'm the only one here who experiences it, is that thing that you've made the decision to leave the program, and you're very happy with the decision. You decide you're going to move on, and this is great. And then it gets to the regeneration day, and you've put your all into the acting, and you've done all this, and you're lying on the floor, and then suddenly you realise some other bugger is now the Doctor. and you're sort of out the back door. It's terribly painful. I know that David Tennant felt this when Matt Smith took over, but he was absolutely fine until he had to do it. And then it was like, what have I done? Which is probably why he's back this year.
It's like when I recorded my regeneration for Big Finish. Nick Briggs wrote a brilliant story. And a lot of fans said, does that mean there'll be no more Colin Baker stories? Well, it's about time travel. We've gone to the end now, we can go back to the middle or the beginning, or we can go anywhere.
Well, that's the thing, because, you know, now that Russell T Davies has taken over, and I think it is it, who owns it now, Disney or Sony, one of the two. Anyway, they wanted to make a Doctor Who family. So now that we've appeared again, I see no reason why we shouldn't go into the future with lots of our own stories.
Yeah.
Doctor Who, the MCU, maybe? The multiverse.
I'm just putting it out there. Write the letters now.
I think every person in this audience would love to see you, just absolutely going toe-to-toe with Thanos or something and just absolutely tearing them apart.
And we can still run down corridors, it's no problem. Come on.
Fast and Furious Doctor Who.
Yeah.
My TARDIS will be any of your cars, mate.
But you're right about the episodes, the storytelling, the intricate storytelling, the relationship between the Doctor, his companions. How important do you think that was in conveying the drama of the time to the audience, the relationship between companions? Because in recent series, there's been, absolute tears when companions die or part ways. So how important do you think that relationship was with the companion in order to bring the audience into the story, from the living room into the TV set?
Well, they're just there to make the Doctor look better.
I don't agree with you. You're a populist. That's the way it works. I thought it was quite important that the Doctor should care about the companions, and that's a driving force. Companion. Colin's right in the fact that companion disappears or gets taken prisoner, and then the Doctor has to go and save them. I had a companion who was trying to kill me all the time. He was ginger. That was the problem. Yeah, he was ginger. But no, I think it's important.
So, Peter, you mentioned Patrick Troughton was your Doctor. You grew up watching, I was going to say, before you were on the show, who was your Doctor, and who did you sort of associate with most closely from the show from the 60s onwards?
Well, when I grew up, there wasn't any Doctor Who. I was grown up when it started. So my attitude to Doctor Who is utterly selfish. Is that, for me, the best one was Patrick Troughton, because he did that first regeneration so brilliantly out of left field to this wonderful Rouge character that ensured the continuity of the programme. Without him, we wouldn't be here. If they hadn't cast him so well, you'd be sitting on some other steps talking about something else.
So the Doctor Who talk was amazing. It was very, very funny, and they had such a great rapport between them. So it was really, really fun to see. But now I'm hot-footing it up to a panel all about Disney at 100.
Disney was, first and foremost, Disney was a man. Born in Chicago in 1901 and died 66 years later. Having become probably one of the most recognisable people in the world. Probably as much as anyone, even as much as Mickey Mouse, he was literally the face and name of the company. Secondly, Disney is a company. It was founded by Walt Disney and his brother Roy, with support from Iwerks in 1923, so 100 years ago in October this year. From a small independent animation studio, the Disney Brothers studio, they are now one of the most colossal corporations in the world. I think 53 on the Fortune Global 500. But I think also, and probably most importantly for what we'll be talking today, they're a legacy of films and texts. They're 100 years from their very early short films through to what we would recognise them most for, their classic animation series of their sort of golden age, to the modern era where they own so much of modern popular culture.
Girls can take hold of and go, you know, and feel actually more confident in themselves and a little bit, hopefully, a bit more forward-thinking and more forward-thinking. And I'm not one of those naysayers who thinks that Disney kind of storylines are actually going to make us silly little girls or silly, you know, we can enjoy them and take what we want from them.
Both saying about characterization reminds me of an anecdote, and I wish I could remember who said it. It was one of the animators who worked on Snow White, which for those that don't know was you'll be able to, yes, my fact checker just here, is often considered the first Hollywood full-length animated film. There were precedents in other film industries, but in Hollywood it was the first full-length animated film. And when they were designing it, they were talking about a scene where Snow White falls down a hill, and rolls down a hill, and on the way down bounces off some rocks. And at that stage, one of the animators says, well, that can't happen, she would die. Which no one had ever considered about an animated character, and even then, animated characters are indestructible. You could drop handballs on them, you could blow them up, you could crash cars into them. But the idea of this was actually someone that you wouldn't just see as a kind of punchline, literally for a gag, but was actually a human character in the very sense that audiences would empathise with her and connect with her, and that was in itself quite a new thing.
Growing up, I was a tomboy, so there wasn't a chance in hell I was going to be into Disney princesses or even dolls. To be honest, I had a $6 million man. I didn't have a Barbie. And you know, to me, those storylines were quite alien to me growing up in the 70s and 80s. It was not something I could get into. So I wonder what would have happened to me if I'd have had Brave. You know, if as a young girl I'd have watched that story play out, I'd have loved that. So it is quite interesting. They know what they're doing and they know when they're innovating story-wise. The one thing with Brave was the mother-daughter relationship. That was a little bit too on the knuckle, that was. Turning mum into a bear. Oh, yeah. We were saying right at the start, the popular culture, the kind of influences that these stories have are really kind of important. Just don't quite think they're as influential as what the worry is. So say for instance, all the research has shown that they haven't seen a correlation to anything awful happening if all the young girl watched was Disney princesses. In fact, quite the opposite. There was one research that showed between 4 and 5, not quite sure how many girls who love their Disney princesses were very feminine because of it and loved that feminine behaviour. Actually, they went back at 10 and 11 to find out it was a phase. They'd been through it, done it, and actually they were all quite egalitarian in their views, and everything was like, quite like, they didn't fit a kind of, I'm going to go into a Stepford wife kind of category. So there's never been a correlation. I think people take what they want from these films and appropriate it, and we've got better and better at that, and we kind of, as long as we have the conversations about it's not all about getting the guy.
Disney have always from day one prized the idea of nostalgia as being built into their marketing, into their creation. So the fact that they're now revisiting all their old animations with CGI versions is not a surprise actually, because they've got the properties and it's all about market penetration. It's all about, well, if we put out a film called Snow White, everyone's heard of Snow White, everyone knows where it is, so that would be great for marketing, and that cuts out a lot of time and research.
Parents have got to enjoy it as well, and so it is really good to make sure there's a level that parents get it and the kids get it. Otherwise you're sitting there kind of going, I mean, could we imagine a Peppa Pig movie?
Oh God.
See, get that? No, exactly. You know, we just couldn't really, whereas they have kind of cornered it, haven't they? In our household, it's been Star Wars because I've got a son, and my husband his thing was Star Wars, and then of course I've ended up in that universe as well, which has been fine because they have innovated with female characters. So you know that's been good. But the thing is those moments in the cinema though, where stuff happens that you're not. So when Han Solo dies, if you haven't seen it, sorry, spoiler alert, but it was a while ago. But my son, I don't know how old he was at that point. Oh my gosh, he literally yelled out in the cinema. He could not. He was mortified. But those are the moments with your kids, right? That you can talk about death. You can talk about certain things.
So I have just been to the Disney at 100 panel. It was so interesting. Everyone could have stayed there for hours just talking all about Disney, how far they've progressed and grown as a company over the past 100 years, and also what the future will hold. And yeah, I could have just stayed there for hours talking about it. It was so interesting. But let's head outside now and go and have a look at some amazing cosplay costumes.
We're keeping an eye on you.
I won't be a troublemaker.
Hello there, welcome to Tatooine.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Always wanted to visit.
Yeah, well,
it's perfect.
you can find anything on this market.
Yes.
Any weaponry you would like.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have some thermal detonators, even got some Beskar here.
Amazing. Oh, that's incredible.
A few blasters to choose from, or even fresh armour that I found this morning.
That's good. That would be handy. That would be good to go undercover. It'd be so good.
We need all this to get rid of all those Imperials.
Yes, exactly.
Be warned, market traders.
No.
They've got no permits.
I have my permit. Stop scaring my customers.
Where's the permit? Show me the permit.
I showed you. Go.
Be warned.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't buy anything illegal. Maybe. It's so exciting to run into you. How are your adventures going across the galaxy? They're okay. It's good.
Sorry, he does that. He does that. I'm very sorry.
Oh, but is he normally good? Or?
Oh, he's very good. Yeah, he's very good. Unless you've got mayonnaise.
Okay.
I don't know why today and yesterday he just got a taste for it. He was in someone's chips yesterday. It was frightening. And the thing is that show me teeth.
Oh, they're so cute.
Yeah, he's only got little square teeth.
Oh, they're so cute.
So he can't buy it.
That's a problem.
He chews. Yeah, oh, it's terrible.
So I have just been inside the Star Wars experience. It was fabulous. You take a trip to Tatooine. I got to meet some fabulous characters. I saw the Mandalorian, loads of really cool props. So I have very much enjoyed that. That's probably my favourite experience that I've had at this Comic Con. They've all been really good, but this was like next level. So I'm gonna carry on having a look around now. I get very excited because soon there's gonna be the cosplay parade, and I cannot wait to see that. People have put so much time and dedication and effort into their costumes, so I cannot wait to see everyone, showing them off to everyone and getting celebrated, because I think that's the nicest thing. So that is going to be a wrap for me for Portsmouth Comic Con. I have had the most amazing experience for my first ever Comic Con. There was so much to see and do. I've loved all of the panels. It's been fantastic to see so much merch. Of course, the cosplay is next level. That's what's really made it. And what I've loved the most is just seeing so many people celebrating the fandoms that they love. Everyone coming together. There's such an amazing atmosphere and everyone's so supportive of each other. So this will definitely not be my last Comic Con. So I want to say a massive thank you once again to Portsmouth Comic Con and for Kate at Bright Sparks for inviting me down. It has been the most fantastic weekend and it is coming back next year, so do make sure you check out the website. If you are wanting to come to Comic Con, this is definitely a really fantastic one to come to, and it's going to be May 2024. You can come to Portsmouth, hopefully we'll have lovely weather again, and just go and celebrate all things fandom and just have the most amazing time.